Welcome back. More warnings this morning coming out about doing business with China as Xi Jinping moves to make China the #1 economic superpower and overtake the United States. I spoke with Texas Congressman Michael McCaul, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. We spoke here at the Milken Institute. I want to ask you about China because now the Chinese Communist Party has been able to get the Saudis to transact in the Chinese yuan. Are you worried about the dollar losing its reserve status?
Well, not so much that. What I don't like, all of a sudden they're the peace broker. You know, they show up at the 11th hour. We're not there, right? When we don't lead, China fills the void. So they negotiate this peace settlement between the Saudis and Iran. And all it really means is they can have embassies in their respective countries. But they're doing it. Remember, Macron went to visit Chairman Xi in Beijing when I was in Taipei. What I do worry about the dollar is in the Belt and Road Initiative, that's their debt trap. You have to sign a contract saying, I'm going to sign up for the digital yuan. What China wants long term is for the digital yuan to be the global currency and not the U.S. dollar.
That's incredible. Tell me about that as it relates to surveillance, because I know that right now Ron DeSantis in Florida is pushing back on a digital dollar from the central bank because he feels that there's surveillance threats.
Well, I mean, some would argue we have to get, we got to compete with the digital dollar versus the digital yuan that China's on. China's in 140 different countries, Belt and Road. Each of those countries have signed up for the digital yuan. You do the math. Eventually, their goal is that the dollar is going to be the second-rate currency, and it will be the digital yuan. So we got to be this is a great power competition we're in.
This is an incredible story right here, and really an incredible development, in my view.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree, and it's not talked about very often, but they want to dominate everything. It's not just military, it's economic. And they want to have the global currency, that being the digital yuan, and they're well on their way to doing that now.
And they made sure you and your colleagues knew they meant business when you were on the ground in Taiwan. How did that feel when you're on the ground with the leadership of Taiwan and you are surrounded by military, fighter jets from China? Tell me about that. What happened?
Well, it was a slow military buildup. 10 battleships, an aircraft carrier, 90 fighter jets surrounding the island as we were there. And then, we were warned by them beforehand, do not go to Taiwan. And then as I left, the military came to me and said, you've been sanctioned now by the Chinese Communist Party. That's a badge of honor to me. But it just shows you how far they go to intimidate. And really, they almost look kind of silly the way they overdo things like that.
But are we ready for this? I mean, you consider where our military is right now in terms of spending on the military. Are we ready for this China threat?
Taiwan's not ready for this. And I've signed off on the weapons. We talked about this 3 years ago. 22 weapon systems 3 years ago that have yet to go into Taiwan. We're just now starting to train them in combat. And they don't have communications like Starlink. They don't have ISR capability for the island.
And that's ISR?
That'd be intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance.
Which is what you want to get on the ground in Taiwan.
Which would give them eyes and ears into the Straits of Taiwan, but also China itself. China has very good capabilities. And Taiwan really has none, for that matter. Deterrence is key. If you don't have deterrence, peace through strength, you get conflict.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is the U.S. and China in terms of a potential conflict. Ray Dalio, who has been all in on China for a long time, and he actually told his clients to double down and buy Chinese companies. He said that the U.S. and China are near war. Right now, he wrote this on LinkedIn the other day, and they can't even talk to each other. That's what I'm worried about. Do you expect a conflict with China?
I hope not. The only way we can stop it is to provide deterrence, and we don't have that deterrence. I was meeting with Japan, South Korea, the Philippines to make sure, Australia. I was with the ambassador last night to make sure we have partners in the region in the event that does happen. We hope it doesn't. We hope the calculus with Xi is the price is going to be too high. and we want peace. But if there were a conflict tomorrow, I think Taiwan would be greatly outnumbered. They cut the sea cable. They do a cyber event on the island, shut it down. And as you and I have talked about, the crown jewel here is TSMC. These are the advanced
semiconductor.
90% of the world's advanced semiconductor chips are made on that island, making the entire world vulnerable, particularly the United States. It would make communist China the dominating power in the planet.
I mean, explain that, because advanced semiconductor chips are used in, all the important things, including military.
Everything.
So they can just shut it off if they were to acquire Taiwan.
They would own the market, and so we couldn't build advanced weapons systems. Your phones, your automobiles, everything has that little brain in it called the semiconductor chip. From a technology standpoint, it'd be devastating.
This is incredibly concerning to me. And Congressman, you've actually been traveling the world trying to address this issue and others. I know you're headed to Mexico soon. Let's talk about the wide open border and what you can really get done in Mexico and Guatemala in your upcoming trip.
Well, we're going to be passing our border security bills next week. My piece has to do with remain in Mexico, a policy that worked very well in the previous administration. It actually got the border under control. It meant that you couldn't come into the United States. You had to wait in Mexico or third-party country pending your asylum claim.
And the cartels are making billions and billions of dollars through human smuggling, the drug trade. What's your take on May 11th, post-May 11th, when Title 42 goes away? What happens at the border then?
You're already seeing it south of the border, caravans trying to move up. They know when Title 42 expires that nothing will stop them at that point. The only thing deporting them now is Title 42. And when that's gone, there's nothing the Biden administration has in place to return them to their country of origin.